what's your confidence that critical race theory is a good theory?
Is a good thing? Oh no.
Is a good theory.
I'll do that much certainty.
And you want to know mine?
I'm very curious.
I'm not 100 as well, but I'm basically on the opposite side. Hi. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to say hi. I'm kind of a fan.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Are you out here just now? You just got here, or?
Mm-hmm. About 45 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you currently set up?
I am. I'm just waiting for people. Want to sit down and chat about something?
Yeah. Do you mind?
Sure.
I mean, I don't have. I'm with somebody right now, so I don't want to.
That's fine.
Take a ton of your time, but I used to.
So you've seen my channel before?
I have. Yeah. I was a little nervous because I told her I was gonna walk over, but I was a little nervous because I didn't want to like.
That's cool.
But I know that you're super cordial, so.
Yeah. I'm just here hanging out, waiting to chat with people.
Okay. Have you had any chats yet, or?
No, none.
All right.
I got kicked out of Runyon Canyon last Wednesday, and we tried here on Wednesday, and it seemed to work out okay.
Out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not because really of us, but someone else was vending nearby, and I think someone called on them, and the police saw us and just asked us to leave as well. So
That's too bad.
It's okay. So I'll give them some time. Might go back later at some point. But this seems nice. Nice park.
Oh yeah, no, this is a great little spot, especially because it's open.
It's open.
So many places are closed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you known about SE or my channel or whatever?
Well, I followed. I'm forgetting his name, but he goes on the college campuses.
Anthony Magnabosco. Yeah.
But also okay, so I had a thought, but I don't know how serious. Like I've not really contemplated it very much, but I'll just come clean.
Sure.
So sometimes I'll go in the comment section of the new courses.
The new discourses? Or
Discourses.
New discourses, yeah.
And I've been radicalized recently politically.
Oh wow.
To the left, right?
To the left, okay.
I've sort of incrementally worked my way back to the center, sort of. But yeah, like I used to be a big fan of like I remember these two gentlemen that did the work on like this like false like research paper that was like accepted.
Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose, who I've all interviewed on my channel. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I was like kind of into the like obviously Anthony, and like I thought his techniques were like really effective. And like I thought they were really productive for my like thinking or whatever. But it was like I think a lot of it was like starting to like because around that time when like the anti-atheists or like the militant atheists or whatever, like the YouTube like arcs that happened
around like 2013, 2014.
Sure, yeah. Then it was like anti-SJWs kind of thing, and like I don't know, I've just been fascinated with the aftermath of like all of that, and perhaps the IDW or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Weirdly began to find myself following all these things, and I was like a big Sam Harris, like I was almost like the Rush Limbaugh version of like Sam Harris, like a ditto head or something. So wait,
let me get the timeline right. You at some point you were radicalized to the left. Is this after all of that?
This is recent.
You're now very recently radicalized to the left. After following like IDW and anti-SJW atheists and stuff?
Yeah. I've been recently watching Tim Dillon. It's kind of like a comedian.
Yeah.
Kind of like was watching something about him. And then I also watched The Majority Report. Like they kind of love to hate Sam Harris.
Yeah.
So I had like kind of a relationship with both, and I still like listening to Sam though. You know,
Sam Cedar.
Or Sam Harris.
Or yeah, which one? Yeah. Both.
Yeah, just because his voice is so soothing and like.
Sam Harris, yeah.
It actually is really relaxing.
Do you do the waking up meditation stuff?
I do. I regularly send my email that I can't afford the membership.
Okay.
And so I'll get the long extended versions.
Okay. So you were radicalized to the left, but now you're moving back towards the center?
So yeah, maybe you can help me in my thinking.
Sure.
I feel like some of the new discourses rhetoric is a little misleading. And I find that the people that are interested in the arguments that college students make are kind of like, I don't know, sort of hyper-focused on a particular kind of person who makes up perhaps like a loud minority. It's just a small critique. Like, I'm not like big, but I do like critiquing things, and like that's kind of something I enjoy writing about. And so I find myself writing about that a lot, and I'm in the comment section for no reason. So
Of the New Discourses YouTube channel?
of the New Discourses. I had like a binge one night. I was
What
just kind
do
of
you
drunk.
like say in the comment section?
I'm kind of vitriolic.
Vitriolic?
Badly.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like kind of not a good look.
Okay, well.
If anyone's watching, I'm like.
Do you like respond to people, or you post your own comments? Or yeah.
So I've recently realized like I'm kind of what's considered like I want to work towards a better version of this, but like I'm kind of a scumbag leftist.
Oh, okay.
So like I find myself like enjoying
a dirtbag. Is this different? I've heard dirtbag and scumbag. Yeah, whichever.
Right.
Yeah.
And not that like I just find myself I'm different online than I am in real life.
Yeah, so you don't seem like a scumbag now.
I'm not.
So,
yeah.
But when you get on Twitter or
that's
YouTube,
like my recent like.
You just turn into a scumbag, or you just purposely put on that persona?
In reflection, yeah, like I realized that I'm coming off as this person. And so it's just this tug and pull between, at first it was directed towards a certain kind of person, like a SJW, but then I became one, and so then I had to wrestle with the people who I used to agree with, and so I find myself sort of reflexively being like antagonistic for no reason.
Just reflectively antagonistic.
I think so. I think politics has made me somebody really different online. So it's like kind of cringe sometimes when I look back at the comments and I'm like, just why?
Yeah. Do you have any idea why that happened, or just the effects of being too online?
I think so.
Yeah. Like, how many hours a day do you usually spend on Twitter or YouTube or whatever? Like,
I'm off
I don't
Twitter.
know. You're off Twitter now?
I never really was on it.
Okay.
But I definitely, YouTube is like, yeah, I find myself watching it a lot. I do benefit from listening to a lot of different kinds of long form things, but a lot of it's theory dense now. Like,
Theory dense.
yeah, I've taken to like Mark Fisher recently, and like I'm going back to school, so I'm just trying to get more involved in like the economic side of things and also the theory side of things.
Okay.
But
theory as in critical theory, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been really interested in debating people about critical race theory. I don't have like a good knowledge of it, but I definitely am in support of it.
In support of critical race theory?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Love to chat about that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions, or?
Yeah, I do. What is the question we should talk about? Like, should critical race theory be taught in public schools? Is that a concrete discussion question we can talk about?
I think it should.
As true and good.
So my take is, in the field of analysis, as it is understood broadly, we use this to our advantage.
Want to put on headphones?
Oh, sure.
It helps. It helps to hear ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And it's much better that way. So, and
Okay.
a little closer there. Sorry.
I like that you have new pads.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that for definitions. And then it's like green for a definition that's accurate, and then red for a definition that's not accurate for whatever claim. So I'm testing that out.
Right.
So I want to I'll write down critical race theory on here. And can we brainstorm what that is? That can fit on a Post-it note?
Sure.
And
So-
and also wrong definitions that you've heard other people say.
Right.
I'll just start writing down. I'll just go ahead and you write down, or you brainstorm definitions of critical race theory, what you think it is, and if on a separate note, write what other people say it is, and just each concrete thing on a separate Post-it note. Let's try that.
Oh, on a separate one. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oof. Too many words on this.
That's one definition.
I think so. I think it's because it's on a post-it, it's going to be difficult for me to get that just the way I like it.
Okay. Not so much a claim, but just a definition of critical race theory at this point. Is this your claim you're making?
This would be my claim.
This is the claim. Okay.
This would be
I'll rewrite this as a yellow because I'm OCD like that.
Your original question was, like people what they get wrong about race theory.
My original discussion question was, should critical race theory be taught in public schools as true? Or should we talk about a different question? Maybe like, is critical race theory a good theory?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is that broad enough?
Yeah, that's better. That's better, I would say.
That's better.
Is it a good
and ethical theory? Is ethical part of it?
I don't know. I don't know enough to make a claim about whether or not that would matter.
We can unpack what good means.
Yeah, because that also would be loaded.
Yeah. All right, so this is our discussion question. Now let's get into definitions.
So this is what people get wrong about it.
Its effects, its harms. People say a reason against it is the harm. CRT is harmful.
More than it's helpful, yeah.
Yeah, CRT is more harmful than helpful is a reason against it, people would say. Okay. And feel free, yeah, I'm still looking for definitions of it as well. And it can be like very simple terms on one post-it note.
I would say like it functions as like a robust, yeah, because you're going to write it. So it functions as a robust system of analysis in the sense that, see, I don't know Dr. Bell and like whatever he makes about it, but I think that what he has to say about it in terms of its relevance to law is where it becomes, most effective or useful.
That's where it originated in law from Derek Bell?
I believe so. I believe that was the intention. My opinion is just that it's probably the fact that people doubt Wikipedia's, as a source. Because I would probably just agree with what has been written about CRT, just as a layman, just a quick wiki search. To me, that gives an accurate description that is not harmful. And because our world is made up of like specializations and expertise, that analysis is an important function. And race is obviously something that's progressed in terms of our understanding, and then also like, I guess, our social relation to it. So I don't view it the same way as other people, but I also don't have such an intuitive knowledge to trust it. But I would trust it as much as I would trust a doctor with like LASIK surgery or something.
You would trust if critical race theory had like some practical application, like eye surgery, you would trust it as much as like a doctor doing that?
In terms of his expertise.
Okay.
Now, I know that people perhaps watching, if this is whatever, may think that I'm over like trusting of like an elite or somebody with some kind of knowledge over me, and I think that's warranted, because in everything that you do, you're always going to want to have a degree of skepticism, because obviously, I guess depending on where you live, and depending on the era, the time that you exist in, like you could find yourself trusting a system that perhaps isn't useful or helpful. And it's important to know that literary criticisms exist for this reason.
Literary criticism, yeah, you wrote, that's what that means, literary criticism?
Yeah.
Okay. Critical race theory analysis is good because of the literary criticism surrounding it?
Makes it more robust.
Makes it more robust, the theory.
I would think. And again, I don't know this theory intuitively. We're at a park. I don't expect to know.
It's cool.
But I also support it.
Also support it? Okay. And I'm still wondering what you mean by it. Like, what is it? What is it? Critical race theory. Maybe like what it claims to be the case, or just other interesting, or just whatever definition we can think of.
So I'm more interested in the cultural relation to it.
Cultural.
In terms of its discussion, relative, online or not. Like people's, a recent term I heard was called a word terminating cliche.
Word terminating cliche.
And I think it's fallen in that camp, kind of, where when people hear it, they assume it comes with a loaded kind of connotation.
Some people immediately dismiss critical race theory because it's become this kind of cliche.
Yeah. People say like people that deploy this are trained Marxists.
Some people say those who use critical race theory are trained Marxists.
And I think it gives it this tinge.
So yeah, that's one definition, partial definition people claim about it. It has a history in Marxism. What's the best way to write that down as a part of the definition? Like, has Marxist roots? Is that a good way to, for a principle of charity to interpret that?
Yeah, through the lens of egalitarianism, it's like an extension of civil rights.
Okay, that's a good definition.
Kind of.
Yeah.
If you can interpolate that.
All right. That's one claim.
Right.
And would you say that's true or false, the green or red, this definition?
That critical race theory has Marxist roots. Okay.
Yeah. You've got the little magnets there.
Probably no, because I am... I'm not saying no because it isn't, because it is. I'm saying no because current understanding of Marxists in a colloquial way is not what I think an academic would consider it. Because I don't think academics work from Marxian axioms or whatever. Like I think a lot of people are like post-Marxist. So,
okay.
Like, it's not like you would really read Marx and like be like, I know how to deal with race now. It's more like, the general sentiment of Marx is probably would be in favor of CRT because of the disposition for like culturalism, multiculturalism. And I think a lot of conservatives try not to get my phone out because I have so many different things.
Feel free to look up anything.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman who wrote the book about there's a book that was written called The Reactionary Mind about a gentleman who wrote about the conservative movement, and basically off his back came like Reagan and all that stuff, and they make a particular kind of claim that they don't really like multiculturalism because they think it's culturally clashing, whereas they are in favor of like an ethno-multicultural kind of thing.
Okay, let me repeat back what I thought just heard you say. Let me repeat back what I thought I heard you say. A reactionary author wrote about conservatives and claiming that the conservatives do not value multiculturalism, and critical race theory is a form of like multiculturalism in the sense related to ethnic groups, like races or ethnic groups.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Sure. Yeah, and feel free to look up anything to get more clarity.
And I think this gentleman would not be considered reactionary from the standpoint of conservatives. I think they would consider him like a proper conservative.
Or even that reactionary was a conservative himself or herself?
I would consider him a reactionary kind of author.
You would claim that person is a reactionary,
but I would,
because he's a certain kind of conservative.
But like, so the person that would assume that Marxist values would be in support of CRT, and because of the cliche that Marxism has, would determine that it was bad, would be a reactionary type like this gentleman. But this gentleman would be different than them because of the differentiation of like what he would be in favor of. So in some sense, in his set of rules, it makes sense to support an ethno-cultural society. And I find that distinction to be interesting. I don't have anything else to say about it, but I at least can support those people who support CRT, or who might be persuaded to. And I think those are the people who dislike CRT. They're more conservative, probably.
More conservatives, and an example of that is like the argument some conservatives say is like Marxist values are bad, then critical race theory is Marxist or has Marxist roots, therefore critical race theory is bad because of that. And that kind of argument, that kind of reasoning is reactionary. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I would say that it is more often than not, although I wouldn't essentialize it.
What do you mean by reactionary?
By the definition of what the internet technically has capital on its definition right now, the most accepted term would be somebody who's anti-liberal, I suppose.
Someone who's anti-liberal. Okay. Is critical race theory liberal?
His name is Russell Kirk.
Russell Kirk. That's the reactionary?
The conservative mind. From Burke to Eliot. That's the conservative mind, yes.
Russell Burke.
I think I say this all from the standpoint of my own experience with my parents, who are more conservative.
Yeah.
And I say it from the standpoint of somebody who is like a pendulum swinging political person. I will find the extreme and try to adopt it like a Kanye West mentality.
Wait.
Just see how it sounds. Say it out loud, see how it sounds.
You do it? Wait, what do you mean?
Well, I used to be like anti-SJW, so I would just say out loud my opinions a lot, and like I would just feel how that would sound or how it would come across.
Oh, you would just find the extreme positions in society, try them out by saying them, and seeing how you feel about them?
In safe spaces, of course.
In safe spaces.
Yeah.
Like literally saying it out loud?
With friends and things, and just get a little feedback.
Oh, just to judge people, how people react? Do you like want to be edgy or something?
It's not like I'm an edgelord, but I just want to gauge because I have a lot of like blind sides. So I don't know if I'm adopting something that might, like, I'm a gender abolitionist. Gender abolitionist. I'm a race abolitionist. So I would be in support of CRT in that regard. And I think that people view CRT as
Is CRT pushing for race abolitionism?
I think it's pushing for race blindness, yes.
Race blindness.
In its long-term goal.
In its long-term goal.
But it has to get there through the lens of race.
Okay, that's another definition. And there was something we missed after I wrote down Marxist Roots. There was some other definition.
About the reactionary mind?
You know, about the definitions of critical race theory. There was something I missed that I didn't write down and I wanted to write down. Let's just go back to trying to find the definition for it. So now I'm hearing a long-term goal is race blindness? Is there a difference between color blindness and race blindness? Is the same thing?
To people that know
for critical
those
race
as
theory?
like defined terms. Like,
yeah.
I think if you say color blindness, people just say like that's probably the same.
Same thing.
I think, yeah, to like a regular person, what you're trying to say makes sense if you say it that way.
Okay, so a long-term goal is race blindness. And by that you mean like just race has as much social significance as hair color, that type of thing? Or what do you mean by that?
So, like, the experience of race, in my opinion, is something that I can't speak on directly, and I acknowledge that.
Sure.
But I do like to speak about the sociological effects of race. And I think, like, I don't know, like, that much, but, like, I would argue for that, yes.
Argue for that. And you're saying critical race theory pushes for that as a long-term goal?
I think, yeah. In support of that, as so far as it's as so far as people want to push back as it's negative.
Now I remember what you said, and it's related to liberal. It's a continuation of the civil rights movement.
Yes. I've heard that definition used pretty often. I think people would be quick to judge what that means. But again, that's a point of disagreement. You got to try to bring in an argument.
Yeah, we can make that more specific. A continuation of the liberal civil rights movements? Or just civil rights movements?
Well, we're in now like a neoliberal movement, probably. So it's very capital driven.
Critical race theory is a capital neoliberal?
Like, for example, white fragility by the D'Angelo person, like that's a very poor version of it. And I think it's being adopted by, like more neoliberal types. But in terms of what we want, yeah, probably liberal sentiment.
Okay. I'll just have that be packed into civil rights movement.
Yeah, we're getting a lot out.
Yeah, this is good. So now, can you put either a green or a red on those definitions?
Yeah, so this one's a good one.
Long-term goal is race
And
blindness.
again, this is a pedantic reason, so sorry.
That's a pedantic one?
Because I would agree with its...
What would it need to say in order for you to agree with it?
Yeah, it would have to be like another premise or something. Because agreeing with this blankly makes me feel uncomfortable, because maybe somebody watching would assume that I would think that it's not Marxist. But again, I just want to qualify that I would probably think that Marxists would support this.
Marxists would support it not having Marxist roots? Or it does have Marxist roots?
I don't think it has Marxist roots as much as Marxists would support it.
I'm confused.
Like, I don't know if critical race theory came from Marxism. As much as Marxists were like, oh, that's something that we want to adopt as like a... Because again, through literary criticisms, you get a robust theory, and then that robust theory is advertised as useful.
Yeah, let me get that literary criticism part of it. Is it a theory from literary criticism? Is it from that field of study?
As far as I understand literary, if you have a lack of literary literacy or whatever, you lack a particular kind. And you could say, more narrowly, you don't have media literacy. Or you do have, and again, I think there are other forms of literacy competency or whatever, and so you through that study and practice in the institutions, you're able to essentially criticize a thing through a scientific standpoint. I think this is why I disagree with Sam Harris, because he is so science-driven, and you would think that he would be in support of a thing like this, but he gets so caught up with dropping atom bombs and telling his listeners that he's...
that's a Sam theater critique, yeah. Yeah.
But I like Sam Harris because I think when I heard him, I thought it was so interesting of a person of his stature to be so open with his thoughts. So I support him in that regard because I'm a very, like, enlightenment pro, whatever.
Yeah, except for the atom bombs. Pro-enlightenment. Yeah, okay, so I'm still confused a little bit about how literary criticism relates to critical race theory. What I'm hearing you say is it's a scientific method of studying, and it's just I'm hearing stuff about media and literacy.
I've got a little document here. I didn't make much. I had a critical race theory debate recently, and I got turned down. It didn't work out. He didn't respond, but he was very adamant in the comments, and we were like ready to have a discussion about this. Like
on a YouTube stream or something? Or
just for my own pleasure. I'm interested in doing that kind of a thing, but
like how would that debate have gone through?
This is a part of my like taking the extreme positions and feeling things out kind of a thing. I use the internet to sort of like in a utilitarian sense, like get something out of it so that my personal life isn't affected by all of this garbage.
Oh, you just get all your energy out through there.
I think so.
Okay.
I should probably take medicine. Here we go. So this is what I would say about the empathetic part.
The empathetic part?
I think you brought that up earlier.
Did I?
You said it was ethical. I'm sorry, I said empathetic.
Yeah, that's the part of potentially the good in that claim.
So, yeah, exactly. Part of the good would
Yeah.
be an ethical claim,
Right.
I would think.
And we'll just, by good, we mean both rigorous and ethical.
I think it's rigorous. I think it's robust. Well, those are the same things, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then I would say that it's good in the sense that it has, as so far as it's misunderstood for being unempathetic, I think it would be argued to be an empathetic theory.
Okay, I'll just write empathetic. Is that the best? Should we just say ethical, or just?
I think ethical fits, because
Empathetic is a subset of just in general ethical.
yeah, so far as my epistemological understanding of this thing goes.
Yeah.
So, but it says here, just really briefly, it says, empathy is not enough to change racism. So it's called empathetic fallacy, believing that one can change a narrative by offering an alternative narrative in hopes that the listener's empathy will quickly and reliably take over. Empathy is not enough to change racism as much as most people are not exposed to many people different from themselves, and people mostly seek out information about their own culture and group. So it's kind of a self-acknowledging claim about how, like, the limits to just discourse, how far that can go, and that in some sense there are things with which our rhetoric can't account for, and in that sense it has an empathetic thread because it is seeking to ameliorate problems that in some sense are uncontrollable, or like and something that helps me remember it is people who are selflessly helpful or whatever. Oh, I can't remember what this is, but I'll come back to this thought, but I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what I'm hearing, empathy is not enough to change racism. Yeah, that seems to be a reason for critical race theory being a good theory, because it claims that the status quo methods of addressing racism are insufficient, and
Right.
and the methods in critical race theory do it better.
Yeah,
Okay, that's the argument around that.
because you need something, right? Like if you want to take a free market libertarian approach and say that we will work these things out, extingent of like being able to theorize it and then use a robust theory to tackle something that in some sense we're saying there is a problem, and some people are saying it will work itself out through people just multiculturally. And I think people were under this delusion when we were young. People believed we were past civil rights. We were in like a post civil rights era.
People claimed in the recent past, that we were pretty much past the problems that the civil rights movement tried to address. Like, those were virtually, not a problem anymore.
4 or 5 decades ago, I believe that people were under such a delusion under capitalism that they adopted the belief that we were better off than we really were.
4 or 5 decades ago, like in the 60s or 70s?
Yeah, like I'd say, like as we approached out of the civil rights era and like out of the whole like Vietnam War and all that stuff, like we started to get more back into like working, and the work hours became more important, and like there was a little bit more of like cosmopolitan flourishment, and like people saw black professionals and like felt like we were all equal, and then all of a sudden we kind of cascaded again into another race crisis, and like a crisis of identity too, and like definitions.
Mm-hmm.
And how we relate to one another in a commonsensical way. Like, people are using different terms and hearing something and interpolating it in a different way, and it's all getting mixed up and jumbled, and we're back at like square one kind of. But I don't think that we ever were. That's my argument, is that critical race theory worked throughout that time to help us perhaps with a shortcoming.
Okay. Have we defined this well enough at this point?
Yes.
And where would you put the green or red on those two definitions?
I think it is, and because for that reason I think it's ethical too.
Yeah, it's ethical because it's a continuation of the civil rights movement, which was ethical itself.
Yeah, I love this syllogism here. I think I'd probably edit that out, but just because it's so loaded.
What's loaded?
Marxism.
Marxism? Okay. Okay. Anything else to define about it?
Nope, just here to make sure that people know that it's
a good thing. People should support it.
I think that you shouldn't blindly support it, no. Because obviously, criticisms of the left are incredibly important right now. We need to stop thinking that there isn't a way to address neoliberal sentiment or whatever, because it's not just one side needing to be demonized, which is my fault online. Although I'd like to antagonize people, because I think if you're confident in the beliefs that you have in terms of its rigorousness in science, like knowing the Earth isn't flat, like it's reliable enough to be, so hyperbolic that you can.
It's so funny. You want to antagonize people, yet you're watching street epistemology videos.
I've also had a struggle between the ethical, or like the, amicability of like conversation and
Do you get anywhere with the antagonism method?
So I realize I'm an accelerationist for that reason.
Accelerationist?
I definitely use the antagonism in my family to, in some sense, it's I need therapy, right? Like I need therapy, but like sometimes I see my mom and she's, or not my mom, I won't say my mom, but like people that I know who go down the alt-right pipeline. I find sometimes being frank is best. I don't think I'm like militant, but I definitely if someone says something, I won't act like I don't have a position. And if they also have a tinge of I don't like the cut of your jib or whatever it is on their part, I will definitely push back. I'm not gonna, I like rolling in the mud kind of a thing, and I think these aren't really, I've seen other people debate, so this isn't my original thought, but I agree with people who like to roll in the mud. I think it's perfectly fine to throw criticisms and names. As far as you're throwing names at the arguments, right, not the person.
Throw names at the arguments.
And also read the room, right? If speak to the lowest common denominator. This is what these videos are for.
What are these videos for?
Personally, I've always wanted to say this.
Okay.
These videos are for the people who are secular, who need to respect, and I'm not saying this I'm just, this is a prescription. I'm prescribing, and I'm asking in a narrative way that you should adopt, in the same sense that we need to accept trans people as a community that whatever your beliefs are about their validity or whatever, the same way that furries exist. And I'm not trying to equate the two, I don't want to get clipped, but I'm just saying that there are communities that won't understand each other. And the way in which our societies are going to get along is to not be antagonistic towards some of the oldest morality that we used, a la Christianity and Protestantism. And if you're going to have a criticism, know the arguments that your opponent has before you make them, and try to be effective, because that's my problem with a lot of the politics these days, is that, I'll leave it there. It's just way too antagonistic, and I'm part of that. But I think that, through these videos, people should realize that people are not trying, people will have extreme positions, and we need to adopt the fact that they will, and not be hyper analytical about it and try to react quickly.
I'm hearing you pushing for a kind of tolerance.
Sure.
A tolerance in terms of just basic dignity, but still throw names at the arguments when it's appropriate, criticize the arguments, but people as something to be to tolerate.
Especially if you're in the room and you know that someone's being abused and other people don't, kind of a thing. If you see at workplace someone's being bullied and nobody's speaking up, in that same vein, you have an obligation in some sense to push the agenda of the left, obviously because I support it.
When you see bad things happening, you have an obligation to address that injustice, that bad thing happening, and your current set of ideas and values are coming from the left to do that?
Yeah, to reach democratic peace, and for enough nations to join together in order for this, I mean, this is like a really grandiose statement, but like if the whole world could be more democratically leaning, that would be a good thing. And I appreciate the criticisms. So I'm a proponent of like criticizing SJWs and things, but productively.
Okay, cool. Wow. Anything else to talk about this? I could keep going about this for a while, but whatever you want to do.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you find yourself having a position?
About what?
I guess we could narrow it to just this CRT, but I mean...
I do. Want to put it on the confidence scale? What's your confidence that critical race theory is a good theory?
Is a good thing? Oh, no.
Is a good theory. And what do you think mine is?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to leave it up there.
Yeah.
This being bad.
That being good.
This being good.
Yeah. That being, it is true that it is a good theory.
Oh, okay. So I can't do 100.
You can't do 100?
But I'll do that much certainty.
Okay, well. And you want to know mine?
I'm very curious.
Okay. I'm not 100 as well, but I'm basically on the opposite side. I mean, at this point, with my current understanding of it, do you want to see? What do you want to ask me any questions about it?
Well,
You've seen street epistemology. Do you want to try to practice street epistemology on me? Do you want to like switch roles?
Does this influence your action? Like, is this something that you fundamentally believe is bad? Like, or what is the first question you normally ask? It's like
I have a topic on the board there from Ibram X. Kendi. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. And that is something I don't think is a good idea. And I think he's coming from a critical race theory mindset with that, or a critical theory. A critical race theory mindset with that claim. Because that seemed, I'll just leave it at that. So it does influence my actions because I'm out here in the park with that topic there.
Okay.
And I think it is, and it's like, a big culture war issue right now in terms of policy happening all over the country.
I will extend that olive branch. It's kind of weird, the polarity that we have, but at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of commonalities of agreement. Maybe there's one fundamental claim that we disagree with that makes this kind of effect happen. But yeah, we'll extend the olive branch in the sense that what was the last thing you just said?
What did I just say?
You said you didn't agree with that board because...
Yeah, I'm out here. It does influence my actions, this idea, because I'm out here in public with that claim out there for people to talk, because I want to talk to people about that claim, because I personally think if people start believing that claim is true, that will be bad for society.
I remembered.
Yeah.
So the olive branch is the culture. That's what I originally that's my main critique, is that America is a hotbed for these cultural antagonisms. Especially for Democrats, the gun issue or whatever is mainly built off of the back of a cultural problem. It has nothing to do with, I mean, there are laws that you can do. I support those or whatever, but as far as it goes, it's politically ineffective to argue, like, as a Democrat, like, against the gun, to, like, even ban guns or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think in that same vein, it's important to realize that there are some arguments that are worth your time, and like, in terms of guns, it's more of a cultural problem. Like, it's not really something that you could fix in terms of, like, persuading people through incentivization, although I think that that's effective. So I think that you have to exist in that state of the cultural divide, and that's why I would agree with you that I can see why people would say that CRT is culturally antagonistic, and, like, there's a tension there that's building, but I think it's because it's an analysis of race, and race is so culturally
That is such
contingent.
a hard topic to talk about. Yeah.
I think it will always be maligned.
What will be the theory, or just race talk? In
Race. Yeah, because it was an invention of the Puritanism of its era, like. Meaning, I suppose that if you're darker skin, that you're less pure, perhaps. That's maybe where the root of that came from. And so because we are stuck with that terminology and the fact that definitions don't work unless everybody agrees upon them, there's always going to be a lot of misconceptions, and I think,
Gotcha.
we need that amicability, that civility that you bring here at the
Well,
cordial curiosity.
yeah, thank you. And I'm an open book about this. I can go as long as you want.
I do have to end it.
Sweet. And did I get your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm Isaac.
Isaac. Cool. And Reed. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Reed. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Do you come to this park often?
I don't. Just occasionally.
Cool. Well, I'll try to be here Wednesdays and Saturdays for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
And I have a meetup for street epistemology in Los Angeles, and that's where I usually post where I'll be. And right now I have it set automatically to be Wednesdays, Saturdays, 12 to 4 here. So if you want to continue this conversation or talk about something else, more leftist or whatever,
Yeah, if you'll indulge me.
left-wing politics, I'm totally open. I enjoyed the chat.
Thanks, I appreciate the invite. And Reed, it was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'll get back to my person sitting on the bike.
Yeah, cool. And is it cool? This was streaming to my Twitch. Is that cool?
Oh, what's up, Twitch? Yeah.
And is it okay if I upload it potentially to YouTube at some point?
Oh, totally. Yeah, you're fine to do that.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Reed.
Have a great day.
You too.
And feel free to take a puzzle piece.
Can I?
Yeah, take any color.
You know what?
Have you seen these before?
Yeah, you have multiple ones, I'm hoping, because
Yeah,
I'm
right
going
now
to
I
keep
have-
this potentially.
I need to order more. I'm like all yellows at this point.
Okay, cool. I would love one.
Yeah, and yeah, feel free to come back and get another color.
That's awesome. I love how nice that mic is.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
again, Reed.
Have a good day. See ya.
What?